So today we'll start with macros in expression. So macros is nothing but, so this is new feature in IICS. So whatever the repetitive expressions we want to write on the data, then we can go for macros. So like repetitive or complex expressions, if you want to apply on the data, then you can go for the macros. So normally what is macros in Excel? Some formulas if I want to write on the data. So we have in Excel sheet, we have a lot of data. So we want to apply some formulas on the data and I have to create a new column. Then I will write some macros. I will put macros I will write. And in one particular column, I will write that macros. So once it is done, the formulas, and I will so drag and drop that macros into other field, it will automatically apply. Say for an example, in real-time projects, so we are using some data cleansing operations, right? So if you take source, so here I have the source. Source, it might be a heterogeneous sources. So here I have the target. So in between, we'll be having, this is what IICS we are bringing or Informatica we are bringing. So we will extract the data from source. Source might be it might be a heterogeneous sources, right? So it will be a flat file, it will be a RDBMS table, Snowflake, SAP, so anything. So you can take the data from any data sources and we can extract the data and load it into a layer called staging layer. So here we will load it into a staging layer. Sometimes some project we will call it as the QA stage. Okay, QA stage means something like data quality we will apply on the data. So we will cleanse the data and load it into this particular layer. So from the layer, we will move on to different layers here. So one by one, the layers will be applied. So here we will apply some data cleansing. So what is data cleansing? So we can remove some null values. So we can check whether this has some left-hand side space, right-hand side space. So uppercase, lowercase, some kind of data quality rules we will apply on the column, right? So we'll have some repeated formulas. We want to write it. So we can write. So if I have some, if you take some tables, so if you look at here, so in this table, if you take this employees table, in this employees table, I have many columns in this way. So if you consider these columns, then I have to go for, so this is one column, this is another column. So here we have some columns numbers are there in real-time project. So you may have more number of columns. So I want to apply some data quality rule on this particular column. The same rule should be applied on last name and email and other field also, some of the field. So whatever the field has some character column, varchar column, then I have to apply this particular rule. So whatever the field I have something like numeric column. So here I have numeric column, right? So here I have numeric column, salary is numeric and the commission percentage is numeric and department ID is numeric. So I have to apply some rules on numeric column and I have to apply some rules on higher date column. So for this, I have to create some macros. So this macros I will create for the different data types. So just to one macros is enough. Okay, create one macros for this character column. Say for an example, here I have some space. In between data, I have space. So this space I want to remove it. On left hand side, I have some space here. Right hand side, I have space here. So all the data I have some space and all this we have. So just I have to remove the space and I have to load the data. So how can I do this? So I can go for macros in IICS. So we can implement this logic in expression transformation. We can create an output port. So we can use some L trim, R trim. Then we can use replace character. So is null off you can use. So different way we can use it. But every field we have to write, right? So each and every field we have to write. So this field, this field. So all the field, whatever the field, character field, then I have to write all the logic. So if I have 100 columns, then I have to write 100 times the logic. So instead of that, we can go for one macros. Then the particular macros you can apply for whatever the field you have character columns, you can apply. Then whatever the field you have date column, you can create one more date macros, and then you can apply on the date. So this way you can implement. So this is what macros in IICS. So in an expression macro, so one or more input field, so represents the source data. Yes. So you can have more than one field to represent the source data, and you can apply some calculations on the data. Then output field, so you can get the transformed data in the output field, so that can be passed. So since we are writing the macros, it cannot be validated in the mapping level. So it can be validated in the mapping task level. So at the runtime, the task, so while the task is running, right, the MCT is running. So in the task while running, the runtime, the task will expand that expression. So it will expand and then it will execute. So you can apply the macros, expression macros in two different transformations. So one is expression transformation, another one is aggregator transformation. Okay, so today we will see that the different implementations, the macros implementation in expression transformation. The expression macros can be implemented in three different ways, three different types. So one is vertical macros, horizontal macros, and hybrid macro. So what is vertical macro? So vertical macro means, so if I have the columns, say for an example, if I have the columns, this particular table, I have some 11 columns. So even in our real-time project, you have hundreds of columns. I want to apply the logic on all the columns or vertically some columns, then I can go for vertical macros. Okay, so horizontal macro means the macro itself can horizontally expand to other columns. And hybrid is, so both vertical and horizontal. So both you can combine and then you can create hybrid macros. Okay, we'll see one by one. So what is vertical macros? So you can write the vertical macros. The vertical macro expands an expression vertically. So that's what you can go for vertical macros. Okay, so we'll see one particular scenario so that you can understand this vertical macros. So if you go here, so I have to implement some logic, okay, some logic for this varchar field. So I'm having some null values, space on the left hand side, right hand side, or in between. So I have some values. I have to remove that space and I have to write the logic for first name, last name, email, and phone number column. So these 4 columns, even you can go for job ID column also. These 5 columns, I have to apply this particular logic. So I assume that. So vertically. So this can be achieved by using vertical macros. So I will log in into IICS. Okay, so both the services are up and running. Then I will go to the particular project. So I will go to this particular project. So I can create a new mapping. So just I'm creating a new mapping. I can use this mapping as, so m underscore macros. So I will use for vertical macros as well as horizontal macros. Then I can choose here the particular folder. So if you want, you can write the description here also. Okay, source, what I'm going to select. So this particular table, I'm going to take a source table. So you can select source. So I'm going to use connection as the Oracle connection. Source is Oracle. As we have seen, you can take any connections. Okay, you can take Snowflake, you can take AWS, you can take any other cloud connection also, source and target. So just I'm taking, for this scenario, I'm taking source as Oracle, and I'm going to take object is this particular table. So employees table, I'm going to apply. So in the employees table, so if you check this employees table, so I'm going to apply validations on the column, first name, last name, email, phone number, and this job ID. So whenever I'm having in between some space, left hand side space, right hand side space, I have to remove that. I have to create a logic. So for that, I'm going for some macros. So here I'm taking the sources employees table, then go to next transformation as expression. So just I'm taking the expression transformation here. So go to expression. In the expression, I have to create a new field. Okay, so here I have to create a new field. So click on the new field. So already we have seen, so what is this output field? It is nothing but, so we can create output field like same like in our Informatica PowerCenter. We can implement some logic, transformation logic here. So variable field is nothing but if you want to create some intermediate calculation in expression, so that can be applied by variable field. So these two we have seen already. So today we will see that. So input macro field, output macro field. So what is that input macro field? So for input, we have to create first input macro field. So macro field will be denoted as so percentage. So both the side, it will have the percentage. So we can have the field name here. So just I'm taking input field here. So in underscore, the field you can take. Okay, so input ports I'm taking. So different ports we have, right? So different ports we have. So just I'm taking that input ports here. So in underscore ports. So you can make it this way. So just I have created one input here. So you can go for here. So here you have to select. So whatever the field you have to select for input. If you want to apply this macro for all the field, then you have to make all incoming field. Okay. So, but I want to make some 5 field, right? So you can go for some named field, or you can go for some text or pattern. Okay, this kind of pattern, if the data is coming, then you can create some macros here. So just I'm going for the named field. So whatever the field I have to create. So email, so now the field, first name, yes, job ID, last name, and phone number. So these 5 field I'm selecting. So incoming field 5 of 11 selected. So click on OK. So just I have created one field. Okay, so one field mapping I have created. So input macros I have created here. Then you can the same way you can go for the output macro. So create output macro. So whenever you are creating output macro, so automatically it will create input macro field. So this is what the macro field it will take. Then output macro field, yes, underscore out it will take. So it will suffix automatically like underscore out. Then you can go for string. So what is that field you can have? Some number of characters you can have. So here I can write some formulas. So first of all, I'm writing this way. So just I'm writing. So one output macros. That's all. So input is, so whatever the field you are giving like input. So what is the output logic I'm going to create? So this is output, right? So you can go for configure. So here we have to write the logic. So this is the logic we have to write. So input port is nothing but the combination of 5 fields here. So just I can write the logic here. So you can go for, so what is the logic I have to write? So I have to remove left hand side space, right hand side space, and in between space. So for this, I will use in between space. How can I remove? So I can go for replace character, right? So if you go to this one in between field, so I can go for built-in functions, the string functions. We know already the replace character. So what is this replace character will do? So replace character means it will replace a particular character by this particular string. So just I'm taking that flag is 0. So flag 0 means it's a case insensitive. So I can go for string 1. String 1 is, so this is the string 1, the input field. So I can take input field. So here string 2 is whatever the field we want to, whatever the character we want to replace. Just I have to replace space with null I have to replace. So null means, so 2 quotes we have to write without space. So 2 quotes we have written, and here we have written space. So space it will be removed. So if you validate now, it will not be validated. See here, this expression cannot be validated because it uses the macro input field. So macro input field, if you are using, it cannot be validated in mapping level. So it can be validated in the runtime, the task level. Okay, so just I have used replace character to replace the space in between, but I have to replace the space left hand side, right hand side. So you can go for, so we do not have any trim functions. So we can go for L trim and R trim. So nested function I'm going to use. So I'm going to use R trim of, so this particular one, and L trim of this particular one. So L trim of, so this one. Okay, so here we have to carefully write, so otherwise we will not have any validations here. So you cannot validate it here. So that's a reason. So here we have written this way. So L trim of R trim of the port. So here I have added one extra logic, replace character. So you can write the same way. You can write a different logic. So for all the field. So this one I have written for only for character field. So you can write the same way for other field also. The common logic you can write for all the field, or you can write some macros for character field, some macros for date field, some macros for numeric field. Okay, so I have written the logic. Just I can go for click OK here. Then go to the target. So here you can create dynamic target like flat file. Just I'm taking target as table, the snowflake as well. So we can select, no issues. So if you want the target, I'm selecting the snowflake. Okay, so I can go for snowflake here. So single object. So you can go for the selections. The snowflake, it will select. Okay, so which field? So since it is the cloud connections, it is taking time. So meanwhile, I will connect to the snowflake. Source, I'm taking like Oracle. So target, I'm just taking snowflake. So we know we have already created. You can select a node database. So you can select the database here and the schemas here. So I have selected database EDW as the data warehouse. So inside that we have MR database and merchant reporting is the schema. So select star from T underscore employees. So here I have one table. Just I'm taking this table. So I'm selecting. So very first time it will take some time. So here we are seeing the data. So if you look at here, I have some 108 records in the table. So first of all, I will truncate this table here. So I will use the same way. So truncate table name. So I just truncated, and you can see here there is no data as of now in the snowflake. Okay, so go to this IICS. You can select the target here. So this is the table we are seeing. Just select a table. So source is Oracle. So target is snowflake we are selecting. So you can go for insert operation. Yes, you can go for, and then you can go to the field mapping. You can select this field mapping. So here we cannot provide the field mapping. If you are providing the field mapping, here we have the input port. So this should be applied for these field, right? First name, last name, email, phone number, job ID, all the field it should be applied. Instead of applying mapping level, so we will go for the task level. So here you can go for the field map options. So you can go for completely parameterized. So you can go to this particular options. So here you can choose the parameter or create the new parameter. So just I'm creating, so macro underscore field mapping. So you have to create, if the target is a table, existing table, you have to create a mapping. You have to create a parameter. So just you have to create completely parameterized field mapping. So this is what they have given this field map options. So we have seen already manual, automatic, all this. So what is that completely parameterized? So this is the one. So just you can save this. Now the mapping is valid. So you can go to new task. So create a mapping task. So just you can create one MCT. So mapping task. So you can choose as mapping task. So macros. So expression, macros, and location, descriptions. And if you want to write description, you can write the runtime environment, and you can choose the mapping. So just you can choose the mapping, just we have created. And this is what the mapping. Go to next. So here we'll have the input parameters. Since we have given completely parameterized, the field here we are getting all the 11 field, input field, and here we are getting the 5 field, right? So you can see here we have given the macros for 5 different field. the email, first name, last name, job ID, and phone number. This field we are getting. So that's what the field we have seen. So you can remove this field mapping, first name, last name, email, phone number, job ID. Then we can provide this particular field mapping. So first name, yes, you can give the first name out to the first name, last name out to the last name, email out to the email, and job ID to the job ID, and phone number out to the phone number. Just I can give the field mapping. So here we have to remove this field mapping from here. Just you can go to next. Schedule. So if you want to give any schedule or email notification or anything, just you can give here. You can finish it. So we have created input macros. The vertical macros we have created. Okay. So just I'm going to run this mapping task. So here you can see the source. We have here space on the left hand side. So we can add some space on the left hand side. So you can see here, I will add some space on the left hand side. So here I'm adding some space on the left hand side. In between I have some space on the right hand side also. So this should be removed for all the first name field. See here also it will remove. So that we have to give correctly. Okay. So that we have to take care, but I have created one logic for how to remove the space in between if I have. So here I have some underscore here, but here I'm writing some space. Okay. So I have written some space and underscore. So it should be correctly mapped. So here also I have some space. Okay. Job ID field, we cannot apply any logic. So we have some integrity constraint. So you assume that from the source, we are getting the data, but one field only I have applied, right? Just only one field I have applied the macros, but I have written logic for one field, but I have applied for 5 fields. I'm going to run the task now. Since we are connecting the cloud, so it will take some time. So as of now, no data. Okay, so it got loaded. So we have source 108 records. So target also it has loaded. So we can go and check now. Control enter. So here also you can see this. So the record has loaded. So 108 records we have, and it doesn't have any space. So all this has correctly loaded, right? So you can see here, it has loaded correctly for all the field. Like first name, we have added some data, last name, just email, and phone number, right? So this is what I have written the logic. So for this vertical macros. So you can implement this type of logic for if you have more number of columns, you can write the macros for one field. So that can be applied for many fields. Even you can apply one mapping just you can create this one, and multiple mapping task you can create it like a reusable one. So this is what you can go for the vertical macros. So I hope you are clear, and you can see here, I'm going to take the data. So here, if you take the last record, so just I have taken the last record. So here I have added some null values on the phone number. Say for an example, I have to create one logic. If any field has null values on the phone number, email ID, last name or first name or the job ID. So whatever the field I'm going to validate. So if any field has null value, I should filter out the record before loading into the target table. So that's my requirement. Okay, so previously we have seen the vertical macros. So now we are going to see the horizontal macros. So I'm going to write logic for one particular field. If it has null value, it should be applied for other field also. We have to horizontally, we have to expand that particular logic. So we have to remove the data. So how can I do it? For that, I can go for horizontal macros. So what is horizontal macro? Horizontal macro to generate a single complex expression that includes a set of incoming field or a set of constant. So that's what we are going to write. Say for an example, if I have some incoming field this way, so how can I remove this? So the same mapping, I'll go to the same mapping here. So I will open this expression. So I will go and create one particular field. So here I'm going to create one particular field called flag. So just the output field I'm going to create. So this field I will create like a flag. So flagging, just flagging that record to filter out. So this one is integer. So either I'm going to flag it like a 1 or 0. Okay. So precision is 10. Yeah, integer. Then here I can go with the configure. So if you go to this built-in functions, so the last you can find horizontal expansions. So one option called horizontal expansions. So here you will be having OPR concat. So it is used to do the concatenation. So on the horizontally, then you can see different way concatenation delimiter and if functions, and you can go for if and sum. So summation. So summation using plus. So you remember we have seen expression will add some plus plus. So what I'm going to do, so I'm finding the value. Say for an example, if it has value, then I'm making like 0. If it has null values, I'll making like 1. So any field, this field has null value, I'm making like 1. So if it has 1 plus 0, 0, 0, if any one value I'm getting 1, I have to filter out the record. Say all the field I have the values, right? So here I will get 0, 0, 0, 0. So if you add all the 4 zeros, you will get sum as 4, 0 only. But any field has null value, I'm going to mark it like 1. If I'm getting sum is 1, then that is minimum 1. So at least minimum 1 I'm getting, then I have to filter out. 0 means there is no null values on the columns. Okay. So how can I write the logic? See here, I'm going to write the logic simply. So this way you can write. So this is the way we have to write. So instead of this expressions, you can go for the field. So this field you can write. So if is null of, so is null of you can write, right? So this way you can write. If is null of, the same one, just I'm adding is null of. So if is null of this one, if the field has any one of the field has null values, then I'm making like 1, otherwise 0. So any one field has null value, right? So it will make 1. Then I'm checking whether it is 1 or 0 in the next level. So 1 means I'm filtering out that particular record. 0 means I'm allowing. So just I can take. So now if you go and validate, it will not be validated since it is a macros. So this is input macros it contains. So you can see here, right? So this flag, just I'm flagging the record 0 or 1. If any field has null values, I'm making like this field as this particular record as flagging like 1. That's all. So all other field, see only this field I have added like null values. Other field I'm not making like null value out of 108 record. So 107 record should be loaded into the target. So you can see here, this is what. So I have to filter out the null values. I can go for filter here. I can add some filters conditions. So you can add filters. So you can go for filter here. So you can use simple filter or you can go for advanced one also. So you can define the flag equal to 0. Whatever the record we are getting flag as 0. So that record alone I'm allowing to next level. Okay. Yes, I have defined. I will save this. So I I have saved this and I can go to the mapping task. Just I can refresh it. You can close it and open it, or you can go for this way to refresh it. In PowerCenter, we will right click and refresh mapping, right? After creating the map, the session, if you are doing the mapping level changes, you have to refresh it. The same way in IICS, the mapping task, we have to refresh it. So you can close and open, or you can just go to edit, click next, next, next. You can go for next, next one and just finish it. So now you have to run it. So just before running, I'll show you, I will truncate this table. Manually, I'm doing the truncate. So we can enable this truncate and load Informatica level. Just I'm doing it here. So there is no data as of now. You can see here. So there is no data. So just I'm going to run it. It should load 107 records only. That one record should get filtered out. So exactly it has loaded 107 record. So you can see here. So here we have 209, right? So this record should get filtered out the target level. Okay. So you can use this one and you can go to the last. We are not seeing that 207, right? 209, we are not seeing that. So that record, it is getting filtered out. So in between, if I want to know, so how it is, so if you are doing some mistake, you want to know how it is validating it. So you can go to this expression. So here in IICS, we do not have any debugger separately. So just you can go to this expression. So you can open it. So here I have to check how it is validating the data. So you can go to the preview data. So run preview. Yeah, it is going for 100 records, right? So you can go for 200 records. So you can go for view for all the records. So you can see here all the 108 records we are getting it. If you go to the right hand side, you can see here. So this is what email output. Yes, it is removing the space, right? And then first name, yes, it is removing it. Job ID, last name output, and phone number. So flag we are getting 0. So for only one record, we'll get 1. So we can go to the next page. So you can see here the last record alone, this record alone 209 will get 1. See why? Because phone number out we are getting null value. So clear. So this is the way you can just preview the data, you can validate it. So like a debugger we can run, we can check the data in IICS. Then what is hybrid macros? So hybrid macros is nothing but, see here, it expands. See how the horizontal macros, how it will validate, right? How it will expand at runtime. The application expands the expression horizontally as follows. See here, if is null of employee ID 1,0, then plus addition. So we are making sum, right? So it will make plus symbol here, not column level addition, it's a row level addition. So this is what it will make for each and every field, whatever the field we have written. So here we have written one more field like job ID, right? So it will write job ID field also. So plus job ID as well. So it will validate. So this is what it will expand. Okay, the field. So you can go for horizontal macros this way, and you can go for hybrid macros also. What is hybrid macros? So both vertically and horizontally you can go for. See, just you can create one variable field. So here itself you can put, so this is what 1 or 0, then output port we are getting if this port is 0, just we are implementing the logic, otherwise we are implementing null. Then in the flagging, the next field, you can remove all the null values so that it will not be validated to the next level. Okay, so just to try these macros by yourself, you can create it. So you can go for any numeric field also. You want to write some numeric field we have. So we have written this macros for, say for an example, if you take this salary field, salary, I have to do some calculations. Okay, bonus calculation I have to do. This macro should be applied for salary and some other field also I have to apply. Then you can write the logic for the salary field. Okay, so just to try this, it's very easy only. You can able to get this macros.